Okay, let's experiment with send string. As an example, let's say that I want to connect to the Aspen device remotely and control a projector that's connected to the Aspen device via serial. So let's do this. What I'm going to do is first show you a device that I'm using for testing. It's called the IP2SL. It's an Ethernet to serial adapter. I simply connect an IP cable here, and I connect the serial connector to the Aspen device. This allows me to send any information from the Aspen device via serial and receive it over IP and vice versa. A very inexpensive box and great for testing and also great for remoting serial ports. So with that in mind, keep in mind this is connected right now to the Aspen box, and I'm going to show you what the IP address is of it, and you can see how it works. So for now, we're going to connect to our Aspen box remotely. We go to Connect, Network, and here is the IP address of the Aspen box, which is local, but of course this could be a remote address, and the port number may be something different provided by the system administrator that would allow you to have access to the device within the system. So I'm going to hit refresh, and here's our SPN 1624. Click OK, and now you notice we're connected to it. If I type in ID question mark, there it is. Now here's the code we used last. And what I'm going to do is modify this. Let's say that we have a projector that takes a serial command of some kind. I'm going to change this command. I'm simply going to copy it, paste my exit command below. That'll be line 6. I'm going to change this to a send string. I now want macro number 25, line 5, to send a string out the serial port to the projector. So the command for that is send, str for send string, and the number 1. 1 indicates serial port, 2 indicates the IP port. Okay, now we want to set it equal to a string. It could be anything you want. It could be a hex value, it could be a simple string value, it could be a combination of string and hex, and you can format these strings, and we'll get into how you can do that a little bit later on. Right now I'm going to set this equal to turn on as an example. Now here, when we're sending a command, notice we have 4 quotation marks. We have to escape some of those quotation marks simply by doing this. We'll escape that quotation mark, and we will escape this quotation mark. So now the macro, when it sees the start and ending quotes, it knows that everything in between has to be a command that's going to be put into location number 5 within macro 25, and that command happens to contain quotation marks of its own, which are these 2 escaped quotation marks. Okay, let's do the same thing on, I'm just going to copy the entire line. I'll come to this macro. This is macro number 26. I'll make this line 6, and then we want to set this to turn off. Okay, so now we have a modified macro that's going to send a string out the serial port of the Aspen box when it's pressed to turn on, and when it's toggled to turn off. So what we want to do now is save this. Let's go to the command terminal, and remember I'm connected via IP. We'll go to File, Playback, and we want to use testcommands.txt again. Click Open, and it sends in all of the commands. And notice our new commands are in there now. Okay, they're all in. Now what I want to do is I want to be able to test this. So if I'm sitting in a remote site, say Starbucks or some other place, I can press this button virtually. But first we want to see if the projector is actually receiving the command. And I'm going to open up another little terminal that was created in Flash, and this will be available as well on our site just as a test utility. And I'm going to type in the IP address of this Ethernet to serial adapter. And it is 172.16.12.154, and it lives at port 4999. I hit connect, and now we're connected to it, and notice it sees the 1624, and it's asking for that internally. So what I want to do now is I want to receive that command on this particular panel when I press the button remotely. So I'm going to issue a button push from my remote terminal, and if this were the projector, this is what the projector would see when we tried that. PRGIN for a programmable input, and we want to push button number 1. So I send the command, it runs, and you'll notice we have turn on now, which means the projector received that particular command. Let's press the button again. And we now have turn off. So it's receiving both of our commands simply by modifying our text file with one line of code to send a string serially, and now we can control other devices. Let's go on to the next section.